Welcome to the Ecommerce Marketing Podcast, the highly rated digital marketing podcast that provides weekly digital marketing tips and strategies from some of the world's top digital marketers and e-commerce entrepreneurs that will help you take your digital marketing to the next level. Sit back and enjoy this power-packed episode hosted by Arlen Robinson, who is an e-commerce entrepreneur and digital marketing expert with over 20 years of experience. Hey, e-commerce marketing podcast listener. Are you looking to increase traffic and sales to your website? You can do this by launching your own affiliate program. Just visit getosi.com and sign up for a free trial today. That's getosi.com. Now get ready to hear from your e-commerce marketing expert of the week as they drill down to give you details on marketing strategies that can help grow your business.
Welcome back to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast, everyone. My name is Arlen and I am your host. And today we have a very special guest, Igor Kheifets, who is an Amazon best-selling author of the list building lifecycle Confessions of an Email Millionaire. He's also the host of List Building Lifestyle, the podcast for anyone who wants to make more money and have more freedom by leveraging the power of an email list. He's the founder of Igor Solo Ads, one of the world's top email traffic agencies. Igor also specializes in helping average people break the link between their time and their income. Welcome to the podcast, Igor.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Great being here.
Yes.
Look forward to it.
Yeah. Thank you for joining me. Yeah. I'm really excited to talk to you. We're going to be, of course, talking about one of the main areas that you specialize in, which is list building, which is really huge. I'm always having conversations with people about email and the future of email. And I know you've probably heard this come up time and time again, when text messaging was starting to really take off and contacting people and forming relationships that way. Email was starting to get a bad rap. I know several years back when the whole spam issue was about the Can Spam Act here in the US, you couldn't send emails unsolicited, and it was just a whole thing. But now there almost seems to be like a resurgence of email. And I think we're kind of in a good time. And I know you've probably been really busy. So today we're going to really be diving deep into the topic of e-farming. And you're going to be kind of enlightening us on that, what it is and how everything works. But before we do get into all of that, I wanted to tell us a little bit more about your background and, specifically how you did get into what you're doing today.
Yeah, my story is I guess it's very similar to lots of other stories. I really stumbled into it. I was born in Ukraine just before the wall came down. When
Okay.
Reagan was like, Mr. Gorbachev, take down the wall. So right around that time, my parents were having sex, and soon after, I was born. And
Okay.
I grew up in post-Soviet Ukraine, which is a very difficult place to be. You basically everybody grows up poor, lots of crime. The weather sucks. The people are great, but it's just a very tough place to be. And so eventually we ended up moving out of Ukraine and using our Jewish heritage to go to Israel and kind of immigrate to Israel as a part of the whole, just by proving that we're Jewish, we were allowed to go in. So that was probably one of the easiest immigrations that anyone can make. It was definitely easier than me immigrating from Israel to Canada later on in life. We can touch on that a bit later. So we got to Israel. It was the year 2000, and a couple of things happened. Basically, the first major thing that happened was that we started suffering financially, like badly. And the reason it happened is because while my mom and dad were working full time in the first 6 months of us being in the country, very soon my dad felt a sharp chest pain. Went to see a doctor in the clinic, and the doctor says, "Hey, something's off here. Your EKG reads awful. We need to get you to the hospital." So they put him on an ambulance. They send him off to a hospital about 40 minutes away, which is the nearest biggest hospital. And as soon as they see his data, they immediately rush him into the OR, and they perform a double bypass on him.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
to those who don't know, but double bypass basically means that they had to replace some veins and arteries in his chest by taking these veins and arteries from his leg,
Mm.
because what turned out to be the case is that he had one of his arteries get so thin maybe it was like a little bit torn and then it stretched out. So it was so thin that it was just about to tear. And as soon
Mm.
as that would happen, he would die, like on the spot.
Mm.
So they save his life, but they render him pretty much incapable of getting a job because nobody wants to hire somebody with a heart surgery. He doesn't even speak the language yet, so he doesn't really have many skills. He was a mechanical engineer by trade, but owned his own business in Ukraine. But coming to Israel, he has no paperwork as far as like credentials, and he can't get any decent jobs besides an occasional security job for like a security firm. But these firms are so shady because they would only hire you for 8 to 9 months at a time. Because if they were to keep you for more than 9 months, they'd have to pay you benefits, and they did not
Mm.
want to do that. And there was more people willing to work than they could hire. So what they would do, they would just rotate people. They would hire my dad for 8 or 9 months, fire him, get someone else, and then rehire my dad in 6 months. And
Mm.
that was the life, which required us
Wow.
to mooch money off of our relatives, which required us to ask my mom's mother, my grandma, to move in with us so she could chip in on the bills and we could get property tax discounts. Basically, life kind of sucked. And at the time, I'm like a teen. So I don't
Mhm.
really mind that because as a teen, you can be growing up rich or you can be growing up poor. Money doesn't really
Right.
bother you. But as soon as I started hitting the adult age, it started to catch up with me because, my parents put a big expectation on me. They were
Mhm.
like constantly talking about it. Like I was the one to save the family. I was supposed to be the one to find a really good job and, basically pull everyone up.
Mhm.
And somewhere along the path that I was put on, and my parents enrolled me into the Israeli Air Force Academy because my dad is he was in the Soviet military. He actually graduated the Suvorov Academy in Moscow, so he was a proper Red Army officer
Mhm.
during that time. He said, "No, you're going to go into the army. Israel has a great army. The Israeli Defense Forces are world famous. Soldier for soldier, the best army in the world. Period. There's nothing you can
Yeah.
tell me that will convince me otherwise. No matter the resources that whichever country has."
Mhm.
And so I enroll into this Air Force Academy uh, for one reason only. Well, two reasons maybe. One reason is the army subsidizes your education, which means you only need to pay about $500 a year for a really good education.
Mhm.
That's like a big benefit. My parents are very much education oriented. My mom is a school teacher by trade. My dad's mom is a school principal. My mom's dad is a school teacher. So
Mhm.
like I come from a family line of people who like to think and value education.
Mhm.
Now, I personally never strived to become a teacher. I ended up becoming one, and we'll touch on that
Okay.
later, but in a different capacity, right?
Right.
So anyway, I enrolled to the Israeli Air Force Academy. I graduated the academy, but somewhere towards the end of that period, I stumble into Rich Dad Poor Dad. Have you
Mhm.
read the book Rich Dad Poor Dad?
I have not read it. No.
Okay. The basic premise of the book, written by Robert Kiyosaki, is
Mhm.
that he had a rich dad and he had a poor dad, and his
Mhm.
poor dad was a school principal or someone who was involved in the Hawaiian education system, and he was working a lot, very hard, but they were always broke. And his
Mhm.
rich dad is his friend's father, who did not work as hard, but he was an entrepreneur, and he taught him all the principles to making a lot of money. And so the book pretty much convinced me of this one thing. That's the biggest thing I took away from the book. And that is this: you don't have to be born rich. Becoming rich is a result of actions and habits and thinking patterns that you do and employ on a daily basis.
Mhm.
And that completely transformed my paradigm because my paradigm was at best, I'll get a good paying job. At best, I'll be making 5 grand a month. At best, I'll get a company phone and a company car. And that's the best I could hope for.
Mhm.
Now, of course, my reality today is very different. Today, I make over 7 figures a year. I am my own boss. I set my own schedule, work from home. What you're seeing behind me right now is my basement. There's a punching bag over there, if you can tell.
Okay.
There's a ping pong table over there. There's a PlayStation underneath the table and a big screen TV in front of me.
Gotcha.
So I live life on my own terms. I provide a great life and lifestyle for my family. And I basically call the shots in my life and make, untold amounts of money compared to what my classmates are making right now. But at the time, of course, my parents think I'm going to go and follow the traditional path. So I started rebelling. I stopped, kind of going with the mold. I started breaking the mold. And eventually I was faced with a challenge where I was enrolled in the Air Force as a result of going to the academy, because part of the deal is the government subsidizes your education, but you have to serve more years in the military. Now, everyone has to serve in Israel. Even my wife served in the military. She did 2 years.
Oh, wow.
But as somebody who graduates the Air Force Academy, you're actually supposed to do twice as much. So rather than doing 3, I was supposed to do 6. And it's a contract that I signed when I was 16 years old. They actually make you sign a contract as a young adult. And that's ridiculous. So I read this book, right, Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm realizing I'm on the wrong path. I don't necessarily think that I was misled and that my parents failed me or anything like that. It's just, it's the direction. The rest of this journey is like not where I want to be in 5 years, 6 years. So I started thinking of all the different ways I can get out. And eventually I do get out of the Israeli military, and I get out using the 21st paragraph, which basically means I am qualified they qualified me as mentally unfit to continue service. Now, to make that happen, what I had to do is I had to put on a big act. I had to, I would literally, before getting out of the house and going to the base, I would like take a bottle of vodka and use it as a perfume, literally like pour it all over me. So I can go to the base and I can like pretend I'm drunk and tell them that I'm drinking. I told him that I'm beating up my girlfriend. I told him that I'm depressed. I stopped shaving, right? So I would always show up like with a beard. I threatened my superior that I'm going to kick his ass, that I'm going to stab him. They wouldn't let me carry a rifle because they were afraid I'm going to do something with it, just something bad. I was telling them about I'm going to kill myself and this and that. Like I actually like did a lot, and it all clicked when I met a friend from the academy who actually managed to make the Israeli army give him like pretty much a clean slate as far as what he wanted. So this guy enrolled in the military before I did, and he enrolled after I think 2 years before me. And what happened was I met him at a later point, and I was asking, how's it going and what his service is like. And he said, well, my service is pretty easy these days. I wake up at home. I have to get to the base that's about 20 minutes away from my house by 11 a.m. I have to come in, cut some salad, and get out by 1 p.m.
Okay.
And so he would literally wake up in the morning, jump into his dad's car, go cut some salad, come back. That's it. And that was his service for the remaining, I think, year that he had left. So he didn't want to get out of the army. He just wanted a more flexible service. And I said, how the hell did you do that?
Right.
So he ends up coaching me, like properly coaching me, giving me the specific things to say and the specific step-by-step instructions of where I need to go, who I need to threaten, what I need to say, the things to do, the things to wear, the things not to wear, the strategic, rebellion acts I need to do in order for my superiors to look at their checklist, which they do have, and say, yeah, this guy seems to be mentally unfit. And the cool part is that not the cool part, the dangerous part is I had to balance it out between being considered mentally unfit versus being thrown in the jail. like in the army jail,
Right.
because
Yeah,
you can
that's
go
what I
both
was
ways.
wondering. If you
Yeah,
go too far over, then they're gonna be like, okay, this guy, they're gonna, yeah, they'll send you to jail if
exactly.
you
Because I
cut
do
it
have
too
a few
far.
friends who graduated the academy as well, and they were rebelling
Yeah.
too, because Israel is a very rebellious kind of place. Everybody thinks they know
Right.
everything. And so they spent 6 months in jail easy. Now,
Wow.
and that did not guarantee, by the way, that they would get out, which means
Hmm.
if I knew guaranteed that I'd spend 6 months in the army prison and I would get out, I would do it, because it's a very kind of straightforward kind of path. And six
Right.
months beats 6 years, right?
Yeah.
But there was no guarantee. You do 6 months and then they send you back into the barracks. So I
Hmm.
didn't want to do that. And so I did what he told me, and it worked like magic. It was absolutely incredible how quickly I started progressing through the phases of seeing my superior, his superior, his superior, his superior, as shrink number one, shrink number two, shrink number four, getting sent to a huge hospital in Tel Aviv to get
Hmm.
examined and just for them to see me in front of a panel of shrinks, and eventually being told that I'm mentally unfit and that they don't want me anymore. Which
Hmm.
of course I had to hide, my smile. But as soon as I stepped out of the office, I started dancing and jumping, like in that movie
Wow.
where the guy's dancing in the rain.
Yeah. So
So
they basically had terminated your contract with the military at that point.
yeah, at that point I was no longer interesting to them, thankfully,
Okay.
and I was out. There was like a 2-week procedure as
Yeah.
well. I had to go and give back all the uniform and a lot of the stuff they gave me, then
Hmm.
go sign some paperwork. It's funny, when I was signing the final piece of paper, I was sitting in front of a clerk, and the clerk is like, "So, Igor, before you sign this last blank, um, I just want you to know that if you sign it, you can't come back." And I looked at her. At that point, I don't need to pretend I'm crazy anymore. So I'm looking at
Right.
her and be
Right.
like, "Huh, why would I want to go back?" It's like, I don't know. I'm
Right.
just obligated to tell you. It's like, I'm
Right.
fine with that. That's cool. I signed it.
Right.
I said thank you. I left. And from that moment forward, my life really took off.
Okay.
So before that moment, I was already trying to make money online. But about a month and a half later, I made my first full-time paycheck, which was enough for me to consider full-time, which was about 13 or 1,200 bucks. And then within 6 months, I went to 10K a month, and then within the next 6 months, to 20K per month. And today, we're kind of exceeding that by miles.
Wow.
So that's how but it doesn't actually like explain how I got into what I do today, but it does share with you the narrative of my journey.
Yeah.
And I think it's important for you guys to know that I was not groomed to be
Hmm.
this what I am
Yeah.
today.
Yeah.
I was actually being groomed to be the complete opposite. If you think about it, I
Hmm.
was going to school in the military academy, which means I was not encouraged to think for myself. I was encouraged to march and be a part of a unit since I was in the ninth grade.
Yeah.
I was encouraged and taught not to argue with my superior. I was told to
Hmm.
keep my mouth shut and just do as told. I was very disciplined, but I was always very disciplined even before the academy. Obviously, grown up in a household where I grew up with a teacher and a soldier, um, uh, but I was never encouraged or taught the character principles and the behavioral principles and the thinking patterns and the belief systems of an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
especially an internet entrepreneur, which is in and of itself a different breed of an entrepreneur. Because you see lots of entrepreneurs out there. Like I was going for some acupuncture yesterday, and it's basically this little plaza, right? So there's the acupuncture guy, there's a
Hmm.
barber, there's a restaurant, there's like a bunch. And I
Hmm.
look at their businesses and I'm thinking, these guys are working way too hard. So
Hmm.
I'm going to see the acupuncture guy who's going to charge me $100 for the visit for a full
Yeah.
hour. He's probably going to see about 4 patients today. I mean, maybe 3 on average. It depends on,
Hmm.
I guess, like some days are busy, some days are not. And he works from until like 6 p.m. because most people only come in after work
Hmm.
usually. And what will he make? I mean, let's say $10,000, $15,000 with 5 or 7 going to rent. and
Right.
all kinds of expenses, and he's taken on this crazy risk of and liabilities of people,
Yeah.
suing him for sexually harassing them because he touched their butt or something. Like it happens
Right.
all the time, right? And I'm
Yeah.
thinking, man, I got it good. Like I
Right.
wake up, there's already new money in my account. Like before I even
Mm.
get to work, I have breakfast with my kids. I can take them to school without having to worry or be in a hurry. Like sometimes I'll take them to school and I'll be watching the other parents. So me and my
Hmm.
kids, we arrive in my Porsche. I got a 4-door Panamera GTS. Slowly backing into the little parking space. Slowly getting out of the car. Laughing about, joking about, and then there's like some soccer mom arriving or whatever,
Hmm.
or a dad that's like in a hurry to get to work, and they're like arriving in the minivan. They park like sideways. They almost jump out of the car. The kid is still trying to take out his seatbelt, and he's like pulling him out of the chair. It's
Right.
like
Right.
getting his backpack and a lunchbox, and it's all falling apart. And it's like, why is this happening? Well, because they have to be at work at a certain time or
Yep.
else.
Yep. Yep.
Not needing to be that way and not
Mm.
having someone to tell me be there or else. I mean, that's a big deal to me. I mean,
Yeah.
I'd pay a lot of money not to have to do that.
Mhm. Yeah, very interesting story. Yeah, I mean, that's quite a story, actually. I mean, like you said, to be able to, you were really kind of going into that military route, bred into being an order follower, direction from authority, getting in line with the unit, which is totally opposite from an entrepreneur. And a lot of times, people that have that have the mindset or in the military and are able to do that, like I said, they're not entrepreneurs. They're more employee minded. They can work for others, follow orders. So yeah, it just seems like, yeah, it wasn't in you from the beginning. It was more of a means. You thought it was more of a means to an end, but it really wasn't part of what you were kind of meant to do.
The problem is that this message
Yeah.
is being passed down one generation after another, that you need to study hard, work hard, get a job, and you'll get rewarded.
Right.
You can never be rewarded for working a job. Maybe there's been like 1 out of 1,000 exceptions.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, someone like Tim Cook is coming into an executive position in Apple and then becomes the CEO after Steve Jobs
Yep.
unexpectedly dies. Now that's a bit of an
Yep.
exception, if you ask me.
True.
Like I don't see the marketing director of Tesla owning Tesla
Yeah.
anytime soon. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
unless Elon Musk
True.
ends up getting on that rocket and dies on the way to Mars.
Right.
So
Right.
so for the most part, if you're working for a small business or a hospital or whatever, you're not going to be the CEO of the hospital or own that business. And
Mm-hmm.
that's it. People don't recognize just how important of a detail that is. They
Mm-hmm.
genuinely think that they work hard enough, they for some reason have a really good life. But the
Yep.
reality is that life doesn't reward people who work the hardest. Life
Yep.
rewards a different breed of people who think
Yep.
different, act different, and oftentimes they're not the hardest workers. I've
Yeah.
met some really rich internet millionaires.
Mm-hmm.
And let me tell you, they're some of the least disciplined, most dysfunctional, obnoxious people
Right.
that I've ever met, and yet they're
Mm-hmm.
making so much money they don't know what to do with it. So,
Yeah.
and they, besides the money, of course, because money in of itself is not the only criteria to success, they also get to call the shots in their life. They get access to the best things, to the best people, best destinations, the best stuff. They get access to the best resources, best connections, all the things that are unavailable to people. I'll just give you an example.
Mm-hmm.
So my best friend Dennis is a huge Leo Messi fan. Leo Messi recently started playing for the Inter Miami, right?
Yeah, I'm very, very familiar. Yeah, he's my business partner's son's favorite player. Yes.
Exactly. So he's Dennis's favorite player for sure. And
Yep.
Dennis has an altar at home where he's sacrificing a goat every Wednesday just so Messi
Right.
keeps scoring goals. So I was actually thinking one day, hey, what birthday present can I give to Dennis? Now this is after years and years of being friends, so I've already gave him all the cool stuff. I mean, I've we've given each other some pretty crazy gifts, and it always becomes like a competition now, who can outdo the other every year. And so one time, I just had a flash of inspiration, and said, why am I not thinking bigger than usual? Why am I thinking stuff? Do I get him a TV, a PlayStation? Do I get him like a vacation destination? It's like, I need to think bigger. What's his favorite thing in the whole world?
Yeah.
And immediately a couple of things come up, and Lionel Messi is definitely one of them. I'd be like, wouldn't that be pretty cool if Dennis could meet Lionel Messi?
Right.
And then I say, I wonder what can we do to make it happen? And so I reach out, I find an agency, and they find a different agency, and they find a different agency, and those guys find a charity that basically what they do is they have you pay $36,000 and you can go meet Lionel Messi.
Oh, wow.
Now, it's not as straightforward, meaning there's no ceremony, and Lionel Messi he doesn't exactly know you're coming, if you know what I mean. I'll share with you the experience of how we actually met him in a minute. But it's possible, meaning that it's possible. Now, why is it possible? Because I have $36,000 and I can wire that money without worrying about my bills. So that's exactly what I do. Now, it took us 2 years to actually get that meeting going.
Wow.
We had to fly out from Toronto to Barcelona, which is where Lionel Messi used to play at the time. It was his final season in Barcelona. We had to sit there in a hotel. So we said, okay, the meeting is going to take place hopefully this week. You need to get on a plane to Barcelona. Come. He said, okay, when is it happening? We don't know, but you need to be in Barcelona. So we go to Barcelona and we literally just wait. 4 days we're waiting, and literally waiting for a phone call to say, hey, he's going to meet you in an hour. Okay.
Okay.
It's like,
okay.
So we get a call on the fourth day in the evening, late at night, and be like, all right, so he's going to meet you tomorrow after the team training and before the press conference.
Okay.
So we get into a cab. We drive over to the Barcelona's training facility. An agent meets us there. Now, the agent was actually Cristiano Ronaldo's agent's brother.
Okay.
Cristiano Ronaldo's agent's brother. And he's very well connected with all the Spanish league players. He's very well connected with Real Madrid. He knows everyone in Barcelona. So he's like a connected guy.
Yeah.
He walks us into the facility. We get searched. We come in. And then we go and we just stand in the parking lot that's located inside the facility, that's in between the training ground entrance where they actually train and a press conference room that's here. So they would be making their way from the training ground, exit the door to the press conference room to do the press conference, and then they're going to get back in their car and leave.
Okay.
So as we're waiting for Lionel Messi, waiting for the training to be over, Barcelona players start coming out. So we see Jordi Alba, Gerard Piqué, Dembele, Vidal, who used to play for them at the time, all of us, like Rakitic, all kinds of players, and we just start taking selfies with them. So that's like an added bonus.
Okay.
And then we see the door is a bit kind of like a shower door. Like when you shower, it goes misty like that. So the door's kind of like that, and we can see that someone's approaching, kind of small. So we're like, yeah, probably him. And then he opens the door, looks at us, closes the door.
Oof.
And then he turns like this to apparently his there's like a guy who used to work there who was kind of like a father figure to him, but it's not actually his father, who would be taking care of all of his needs because he's, I guess, very picky or whatever. I mean, whatever. So you can see Leo Messi go like, so he's not happy. He's not happy. He's got to meet two guys from Toronto, right?
Right.
So he comes out, says nothing, walks to his car, puts his backpack in the car, and this father figure guy literally tells him, okay, Leo, one picture with this guy, and he points at Dennis.
Okay.
So I'm with my camera on standby for the last hour as we're waiting. So they stand together, I snap a few shots, and then Lionel Messi actually turns around and goes and gets into his car. And I look at the agent guy and I was like, what about me? Yeah. And so he starts shouting something in Spanish. So Leo Messi does us a favor, okay? turns around with one foot still in the car.
Mm-hmm.
I run up to him, stand next to him. Dennis snaps a photo and he gets in the car and he drives away.
Wow.
Oh my God. Okay. What an asshole. And that's my opinion of Leo Messi.
Okay, I see.
But just a mere, so the point of this story really is we got to experience this for only one reason. We're not special. We weren't born special. We don't have family that's connected to the football world.
Mm-hmm.
I just had $36,000 I could throw at it.
Yeah.
The price tag didn't scare me. Now, why is that? Because I make a lot of money in my business. So, and this oftentimes is literally the difference between having an opportunity in life and not having one.
Yeah, that is truly a testimony to just, it takes that money to get those opportunities. You got to be in the right place, and that enabled you to be there in the right place. It wasn't because of anything you did other than being able to pay that amount. So very, very interesting story. Well, speaking of kind of where you are today and kind of how everything shifted into your life, of course, it sounds like a lot of this was all based on, in your experience, your wealth, and the success that you had in the business is kind of based on everything you've been doing in the whole world of email marketing. And I know today, right now, I want to kind of just get some brief highlights of what e-farming is and what are some just truly actionable tips, maybe the top 3 actionable tips that you would suggest any e-commerce business can apply to their business today to, grow business through e-farming.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking at the e-commerce industry, I see a lot of money on the table. I see lots of businesses not collecting cash that's just sitting there waiting to be collected, but also not building an asset that they can present to a potential buyer of their business. Because I know that a lot of people in the e-commerce space don't actually make a lot of money by selling those merchandise, but they make more money by exiting the business, and many build it to exit it.
Sure.
So having an email list is actually a big asset that you can present and get a bigger multiplier on what you're building. But most people don't actually bother building it, and those who build it, many don't bother mailing it. And I think that's a big mistake, because if you look into any data available about email marketing, and you can actually go to this website, really cool website. It's called email-is-not-dead.com. So this, whoever it is, I'm really grateful to them, because they've put together quite literally a resource that is just nothing but a bunch of links to a bunch of studies and marketing experiments and news articles about how email marketing truly performs. And what you will find out when you visit that website is that all the data is pointing to one thing, is that people buy via email, buy in good spirit, and buy in large quantities. And that email, as far as a marketing weapon is concerned, is pretty much the equivalent of having a sniper rifle with a 1,000 round magazine shooting bullets with the potency of a tank. It's the single most powerful marketing weapon you can have in your arsenal. And you can easily double, triple, quadruple your sales in your e-commerce business just by having a better email marketing strategy.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And the name of that site alone kind of speaks to, you said email is not dead. What do you think is, kind of this whole argument that email is dead came from? Like, who was really pushing that narrative? Because like you said, the stats speak for themselves. You can see that it's powerful and it sells, grows businesses, but it's just like, why was that narrative kind of put out there?
I have a theory, and here's how it goes. I believe that as people, we are subject and almost hostage to this way of thinking that if something isn't new, it's not exciting. And when it comes to marketing strategies, or the industry that sells marketing strategies, the whole digital marketing community, digital marketing community is guilty of this. We're all guilty of wanting the next best thing, because when the internet started, that's how things went. We went from one fad to another. And it's also like that in the clothing industry. It's also like that in the food industry. There's always a fad of some kind. Like, for example, the car manufacturing fad these days is what? It's the electric vehicles fad. Elon Musk got ahead of the game a little bit, but now everybody's making electric cars. Everybody wants to have a hybrid. Everybody wants to have a fully electric car. and everybody's putting their own spin on it. So this whole approach to life or in marketing using fads, I think fueled the fire that led to basically hit a point where we recognized email as a powerful marketing weapon. And then a year later, the market was hungry for the next best thing.
Yeah.
And the next best thing just got sold to the crowd. I mean, think of all the different things that popped over the years: Facebook, TikTok,
Yep.
Instagram, YouTube, webinars. I mean, it's a really long list of things.
Hmm.
But if there's one thing that if I observe the marketplace and I go and I study the people and the companies who make the most money,
Hmm.
you'd be very, very hard pressed to find one that doesn't have an incredible, powerful, daily, aggressive email strategy.
Yeah, very, very true. Now, for those listeners and e-commerce businesses that are maybe listening to this and they're saying they're on the other side of the fence. They're saying, I've tried email. I've got my email list. I'm hitting it daily. I'm hitting it weekly. I'm sending out campaigns. I'm creating segments. I just am still not getting the success. What would you say to them? And is there something that they may be doing wrong? And in your history of dealing with email marketing, what are some of those lessons that you learned cause you to not have any, some success initially?
If they're actually doing these things you mentioned, mailing daily, segmenting, running promotions, there's no way they're not making money unless their offer is just bad. But if their store is making money, that means the offer isn't bad. And that means they should be making money if they did all these things. But I can assure you that 99% of people are not. Most aren't even building a list. And those who are building a list, they're not mailing the list. Those who are mailing the list, they're not mailing that list consistency and frequently enough. And those who mail it frequently also sometimes could use a tweak in their strategy, and rather than just blasting out a message with like a link to a blog post, which they do because they're afraid to sell to the list,
Sure.
actually run a proper marketing campaign with an offer. And that would be my assumption, is that they're really not putting offers in front of the list, because for some reason most people think that to build a relationship with your email audience, you need to give them value, and value in their book is free stuff that informs them of something. So it could be blog posts, ebooks, stuff like that. And then if they pitch the product in the email, their email list will be upset with them. That's actually not true. It just ain't true. In my world, the way we email, the way we promote, is the promotions themselves are the ones who are helping generate the relationship with the audience, because the relationship with the audience doesn't come from you giving them a free ebook. It actually comes from a bunch of other stuff that you need to do in your marketing, and inject a bit of your personality into the storyline for people to just connect with your brand. I think, for example, there's this great brand called Nordis. I just a couple of weeks ago I ordered a bag for my wife, and also got my best friend one. Actually, Dennis, I sent him one as well. And I connected with this brand because when I got on their website, and by the way, I got on their website as a result of getting an email from them, which I'm not sure how they got my email, but it was like a cold, unsolicited one, which I'm not a big fan of, but they still got me. No. Forgive me. They were advertising in a newsletter, in an email newsletter that I was subscribing to. So I clicked on it, and it's like a high quality bag with lots of sections that are interchangeable, with a loading dock, a place for your bottle, and a special bottle. And it actually looks very, very good, and has multiple straps too, which means if you're just going out to a coffee shop with your laptop to work, you have the spots for your cables, you've got your water bottle, you got a spot for your laptop, and it looks stylish, and you can put it on your shoulder or carry it in your hand. But if you're traveling to the airport to fly to a different country, it can transform into a bag that fits more, that you can carry on your shoulder, like really long strap. And it just, I just felt, wow, somebody finally gets me. Right? They probably had, because I walk around with a bag that I bought before I even made my first million. Still the same one. And, there'll be like a bunch of cables there, sort of entangled like this. There'll be a bunch of candy bars, a laptop, a bunch of, pieces of paper, some pens on the bottom, my charger somewhere. Every time I need to get the charger, I open up the bag, I reach really deep, I start sort of going like that, and
Yeah.
and I can't find it, so I have to flip it and get everything
Yeah.
out on the table. It's extremely annoying. And so when I
Mhm.
saw this, I was like, wow, somebody finally gets me. And the reason it resonates so much is because the solution clearly showed, the product clearly shows that whoever created it understands my problems,
Yeah.
understands my day-to-day struggles,
Mhm.
as in the context of like bags.
Right.
So in your marketing, in your email marketing, that's what you're looking to do. As long as you can create this understanding between you and your market, that you understand what they're going through,
Mhm.
they actually want to buy your stuff. They
Yeah.
want to buy your stuff because if they have certainty that you understand what they're going through, they will also have the certainty that you have their best interest in mind and you're giving them exactly what they want. So this customization effect and trust effect then transfers into them asking, where can I buy this?
Yeah, yeah. Very true, very true. It really just, as long as you're able to resonate those points, because obviously in your example, you got that newsletter, you saw the ad, you already described the pain point that you have, the current bag that you had before you made your first million, where you're fumbling through it, it's messy, it's not organized. So that pain point was kind of sticking with you. And then as soon as you saw that bag, you went to the site, you're like, wait a minute, okay, this could solve my problem. And then that's really what it is. That's how it resonated. So it really wasn't anything beyond them being able to convey that point to you, and then you just happen to find out about them via email. Now, with that being said, there's a lot that goes into email marketing. Of course, a lot of people kind of get caught up on some of the other things aside from what you mentioned, which is really just that messaging and being able to convey someone's pain point with the problem that you're going to solve for them. A lot of people often get caught up on the technology behind this, what is used to drive these email campaigns. In your opinion, in your experience, how important is it that you get the right email marketing tool, email automation tool? Should that be a highly significant point, or is that something that a brand shouldn't necessarily worry too much about?
That's a great question. Most of the time, the assumption is that it is a significant point, and they spend so much time trying to find like the perfect tool.
Yeah.
As somebody who used at least 12 tools in that department, I can tell you
Mhm.
nearly all of them do the same thing. Choosing a tool out of an arsenal of tools available today
Mhm.
is sort of like choosing between a Kia, a Toyota,
Yeah.
like a Hyundai. I mean,
Yeah.
as you're just looking at pretty much the same thing. It has a
Mhm.
different badge. It feels a little bit different, but the functionality mostly is the same. They all have a
Yeah.
steering wheel. They got a couple of pedals. They go forward and backwards. They steer left and right. None of them can fly. They all have
Yeah.
a big screen in the middle. They got air
Yep.
conditioning, some seats, seat belts, etc. Just pick one and go with
Yeah.
it. It's really not
Gotcha.
about the perfect tool. It's really not.
Hmm. Yeah, very, very true. I totally agree with that. It's just a matter of picking one and then and then going with it, sending out those campaigns. Now, I know you've probably learned a lot of lessons over the years with respect to email marketing, and sure there was mistakes that were made. What are some common, I would say, mistakes or pitfalls that either you've done over the years or that you've seen in the whole email marketing channel that people consistently make, and how can you avoid those things?
Hmm. So the first mistake for sure is not building a list.
Okay.
I can't stress this, man. It's just they don't build a list. They don't put it high on the priority list. They don't like the goal of everything you're doing should be building your list first and then selling your products.
Hmm.
That's my philosophy. The second mistake is those who build a list, they just don't mail the list. And if
Yeah.
they do mail it, they mail it kind of apologetically. They don't include any links to buy products. They kind of just try to stay in touch.
Yeah.
They're afraid of alienating people by having an offer in the email. But I assure you,
Yep.
the reason they get on your list is because they want to hear more about your offers, discounts,
Yep.
special things you got going on. So the super common mistake is for people who are building a list, they just don't mail it, or they don't mail it often enough. Because mailing your email list once a week with like an encouragement note or a thank you note will not get you
Yeah.
the sales from it. You
Sure.
need to actually pitch things in your emails.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it ain't going to happen.
Yeah, true. Yeah, you're right. That's what a lot of people are afraid of. I mean, you do have to, of course, educate people in a way about your product, what it is you're selling, depending on the type of product that you have or service you have. But the bottom line is you gotta have that ask. You've got to ask for the sale. There's no really a way around that. But a lot of people are kind of scared to do that. But I totally agree. You got to ask, and you got to ask multiple times, multiple ways. And eventually you'll get that.
Yeah, I think there's
sale.
a lot to be said about asking for what you want in life in general, but specifically asking for the sale. A lot of times, what I'm seeing, especially with service providers, not just, e-commerce less because it's just a website, right? You're trying to send people to the website and have the website do the talking. But with service providers, agencies, people who have to do like actual closing, I see it a lot. I see people almost waiting for the prospect to beg them and be like, I want to give you money. How can I give you money? But no one's going to say it, right? So you have to constantly be presenting them with opportunities to give you money.
Yeah.
What people don't realize, and usually these people are really afraid of rejection, and therefore they're really, queasy about pitching anything. You don't realize that people love buying, they hate being like sold. But you can't really, quote unquote, sell someone by sending them an email, because what happens is if they don't like what you got, they just click out of the email.
Exactly.
That's it. It's line. Like as far as it will go. They're not like going to get you on the phone and be like, how dare you ask me for money? What do I look to you like, a customer? Like it's not, people don't do that. It's like they don't like what you got going on today. They don't buy. Actually, many of them want to buy. They just can't buy right now, or don't want to buy right now. But people really don't get that. They think that by pitching something in an email, they're going to make people angry. When in reality, it's just today it's so easy. Just click away. Like you watch your TV, you get or Netflix, because nobody watches TV anymore. So you watch Netflix, you don't like the show, you click out, move on to the next one. Right? You get on YouTube, you don't like the video, you click out, get on the next one. You read the email, there's an offer. You don't like it, you click out, go to the next one.
You click delete. That's really not that much more thought to it. After they do that, they're not thinking about what they just deleted. They're moving on to the next thing. And that's totally true. I totally agree with that. Well, Igor, lastly, before we let you go, and as we wrap things up, I wanted to see if you can kind of give us an idea of where you think email marketing is going to be going within the next 5 years or so. As far as changes in this industry, what do you think is going to happen, and what can we expect as e-commerce businesses in the future?
I think building an email list will become more important over the next 5 years. I've seen email become more dominant since COVID. COVID really boosted email. We've seen the email volume go up. We've seen email open rates go up. I think the trend we're going to see is that more and more consumers will move away from social media for their buying decisions and get into email. There's going to be more email addresses to mail, and the markets will grow for email marketers because we now have a much wider reach than we had even 10 years ago. Opportunities to build a list will be more abundant, and people are way more receptive now to give you their email address than they were 5, 7, 10 years ago. They were more touchy about it. Now, giving you an email is pretty much the new version of giving you their phone number. So if somebody wants to transact with you, the first thing they will volunteer to you is their email address, not their Facebook profile, not their Instagram handle, not their TikTok account. It's going to be the email. So I think the future is bright for those who use email, but you also have to take my advice with a bit of salt, because I'm biased. Most of my income comes from email. I'm a big advocate for email for many years. So I don't think I have a objective look on things. I'm very much biased towards email being the greatest thing since sliced bread. But do your own research. Seriously, do your own research. And I think what you'll notice is just how important email is, and how it's like in the fiber of the DNA of online commerce. Because you think of it this way: when you buy something on Amazon, you don't get your receipt in your Instagram DM. You get it in your email. When you set up an appointment in the embassy to renew your visa, you get an email. If you want to communicate to your doctor these days, here in Canada at least, you don't even call the doctor, because you can never get the doctor on the phone. It's so the voicemail is always full and the receptionist is busy. So you email the doctor. My kids' school teachers want to notify me of something. Guess what I get? I don't get a Facebook message. I get an
Hmm.
email. So
Yep.
email is pretty much the go-to communication for anything that requires a decision.
Yeah.
And for people who sell stuff,
Hmm.
that's important to know, because
Yeah.
yes, for news you can get away with social media. If you're running a news site, social media, like, that's for you. But
Yeah.
if you're selling stuff, you need email.
Yeah, yeah. There's no. That's very well said. There's really no way around it, and I totally agree. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And just those simple facts that you mentioned on how major businesses and industry still correspond with people via email is just a testament to the fact that, yeah, it's definitely not going anywhere. Well, Igor, this has definitely been a very interesting podcast. You've definitely shared a lot of very interesting facts on how you got into the business and how you got started, and just a kind of a testament to the fact that, for most people, it's all about the mindset. And if you can put your mind to what you want to do and focus in on it, really anything is possible. You've just chosen the vehicle of email marketing to kind of get you to where you want to go. Well, lastly, before we do let you go, I know you've already shared a ton of fun facts, but if you can think of any other fun facts that you think our listeners would be interested to know, it'd be love for you to share it.
A fun fact about me: so I'm a gamer, and I also hate losing. And
Okay.
I've now went through, um, let's put it this way, I've destroyed 5 PlayStations. And
Okay.
I think I really climaxed on my third one, because
Okay.
the third one, I literally took it out into the backyard and stabbed it with a screwdriver until I actually got through, like, the hard drive. Um,
Wow.
so that's a fun fact about me. Like, I may seem
Okay.
fun and outgoing, but there are a few
Right.
things that get me in this. Maybe I am mentally unfit. Who knows? But, like, if I play FIFA long enough on the PlayStation and I lose
Yeah.
enough games in a row, I'm gonna
Yeah.
take this thing out, and I'm gonna. One time I took it into the garage where I had a concrete floor. I took
Yeah.
the car out and I just smashed it on the garage floor. It felt so good. I don't know. Sometimes you got to smash something to mentally move on from the defeat. That's why I got
Right.
the punching bag behind me over there, because
Gotcha.
every now and again when I need it, I'll just go and I'll punch it and I'll yell at it, and it makes me feel a little bit better.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Well, definitely fun fact. You've destroyed quite a few PlayStations over the years to get out your anger and aggression. Well, I hear you. Sometimes those games are frustrating, and it's like that's all you want to do is just tear that thing apart. I definitely feel your pain there. Well, awesome, Igor. Thank you for sharing that. Lastly, before we do let you go, if our listeners want to reach out to you and pick your brain any more about email marketing or anything under the entrepreneurialism, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Sure. The best way to get into my world is to first grab a copy of my book. You can get it at igorsbook.com. And what I'll do
Okay.
is I'll ship you the copy, the physical copy of the book. I'll ask you to chip in on shipping and handling. It's $10 if you're in the US, $20 if you're worldwide. And I will also throw in $3,200 in free bonuses that include stuff that'll help you build your list, get more conversions, generate traffic, build capture pages, and so on and so forth. I put together this offers because, pretty much the most common question I get is, how do I get started? So after answering that question for many, many years, I said, you know what, I'll just write a book about it. So that's the book. It's called List Building Lifestyle Confessions of an Email Millionaire. It's not a big one. It's actually it's quite tiny. It's only 100 pages,
Yeah.
but
Okay.
it gives you everything you need to get going. And from this book, you'll also be able to enter my universe, where we've got all kinds of resources, masterminds, podcasts. I got a podcast by the same name, List Building Lifestyle, where we talk about list building, email marketing, entrepreneurship, self-development, and a bunch of other stuff. I'm
Okay.
hosting all kinds of, like, superstars on the podcast, such as, Les Brown, John Assaraf, Mark Manson, Russell Brunson, Annex. I mean, like, the roster is pretty big at this point. Been doing it for a couple of years. So yeah, I'm looking forward to have you guys become a part of my universe by getting the book. Again, the link is igorsbook.com, and it's pretty much hands down the best way to get going.
Okay.
Also, I would appreciate if you check out my podcast. So it's on all the podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It's, again, same name as this book, List Building Lifestyle, and the same image as well. It's like
Okay.
a guy laying in a in a chair over, looking at the sunset. So there you go.
Okay, awesome. Well, yeah, thank you for sharing that. Those sound like definitely a ton of resources. I recommend everybody check out your book as well. We'll definitely have all of those links in the show notes so people can get access to that and check out everything that you have to offer. Well, once again, thank you, Igor, for joining us. This has been an awesome conversation, and we really enjoyed having you on the E-commerce Marketing Podcast.
Thank you. Pleasure is all mine.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the E-commerce Marketing Podcast. If you've enjoyed this episode, be sure to rate, review, subscribe, and share it with everyone you know. Are you looking to take your digital marketing to the next level but are tired of weeding through countless YouTube videos with unproven and untrusted marketing strategies? Well, we have the answer for you. The More Sales Every Month online digital marketing course. In this information-packed course, you will learn effective keyword research, link building, content marketing, and much more to attract and convert your site visitors into paying customers. Just go to moresaleseverymonth.com and sign up today for a low one-time fee. In addition to this power-packed course, if you would like to get access to a growing repository of digital marketing articles, PDFs, and ebooks, check out getosi.com/resources and opt in to get full access to our library of priceless marketing information to help you take your digital marketing to the next level.